Why would you use an agent to manage your property? I mean, an agent will charge you anything from 7 to 20% plus the VAT, plus there might be tenant fine fees on top of that as well. That's quite a bit of money from your monthly rent to be paying an agent, right? Especially if this is something you could do yourself. So in this video, I want to explore why you might want to use an agent, if at all. Hey, I'm Hussain, also known as the Property Joint Venture Expert and your partner for wealth creation through property. So when I started out in property investing nearly 14 years ago now, and when I first got started, I was looking at the idea of maybe managing all the properties myself. And actually about 10 years ago, I got moving with HMOs, and what I started doing was self-managing. So what that meant was I was spending my time looking for the tenants, doing the viewings, doing the marketing, the phone calls, the vetting, the applications, doing the inventories, moving the tenant in, and then dealing with any issues that might arise, any problems, organising, arranging repairs, unblocking toilets, letting tenants in when they've lost their keys, all the kind of things that come with managing a property, not to mention all the regulation and the compliance you have to deal with. Now, I'm not saying that this isn't something you should do, but what I want to do is just explore the different things you need to consider, is if it's something you would do yourself or you should give it to an agent. Personally, I think it's really useful to go through the process of actually understanding what's involved, particularly if you're doing something a little bit more complex, like say HMOs or service accommodation. By going through the process of finding tenants, guests, moving them in, managing the process, managing the property, understanding the compliance, you know what's involved in terms of maybe at some point having somebody else to manage your property for you, or even employing somebody to do that work for you. Right now, I'm of the view that actually it's much better to have somebody else managing the property, hence an agency. I own an agency, Very Nice Homes in Birmingham. We specialise in managing HMOs, a very niche agency in Birmingham, professional tenants, hundreds of rooms around Birmingham, and a team of people looking after those tenants. Yeah, I'm still an advocate of saying, look, if you're starting out, it's worth looking at these things yourself. It's worth exploring what's involved in managing property, but because it's really important to understand all the rules and regulation and compliance that goes in place. But ultimately, if you want to value your time, you want the time freedom to be able to get on and do other things and find more deals and grow your business, then considering an agent is really important. That there's good agents out there, there's very good agents out there, and there's some absolutely appalling ones out there as well that give the industry a really bad name. I'm sure you know what I mean, and I'm sure names probably come to mind when I say that as well. And I think the thing about having your property managed is to make sure that it's being done properly. Because if you do make the decision that actually we're going to hand this property to somebody to manage, you need to ensure that they've got the team, the resources, the processes in place to make sure it's done properly. Because when you have an agent that you are employing to manage your property, that's exactly what they are. They're an agent, a representative for you in terms of what you're doing. So for instance, if a gas certificate hasn't been renewed on a property, which is a legal requirement, it's not just the agent that gets into trouble for that. It's you're the landlord, you're ultimately responsible. So it's really important you're choosing to use an agent, that it is one that's familiar with the processes, got good systems in place, got good team in place, and make sure they're fully compliant. You know, things like client money protection, making sure deposits are registered correctly, making sure they're taking the right amount of deposits. So right now, no more than 5 weeks of rent equivalent as a deposit. No more tenant fees can be taken if they're taking holding reservation fees, how those things are dealt with. So there's a plethora of compliance that has to be considered when managing property. So I just want to share some of the things that you should be aware of. Personally speaking, I think if you're starting out in property, it's really good to go through the process of managing and understanding what's involved. But right from the offset, if you want to hand it to somebody else, make sure you find a good agent. Make sure you find somebody who really understands what they're doing. The reason I started this agency was because I just really couldn't find anybody that really understood HMOs, understood the way we want to run the business and have those property managed, which is why I created the business. Started off managing some of our own properties and a few friends, and then before you knew it, we were managing other landlords' properties as well. So if you pick an agent, make sure you pick a good one that understands what they're doing. And if you are self-managing, it's making sure that you're compliant. Maybe join one of the associations like the National Landlords Association, the NLA, or the Residential Landlords Association, the RLA, and maybe even more local organisations as well. For example, we've got MLAS, which is a Midland Landlord Accreditation Scheme. All these things will help you get up to speed and understand what's involved in managing property. People think it's really easy, really straightforward, but actually there's a lot of compliance, a lot of responsibility you need to consider. So hey, look, I hope you found this video useful. Let me know your thoughts. Are you a fan of self-managing, or would you only give to agents? I'd be really, I'd love to know and share my thoughts with you on that as well. Speak to you very soon.